The first time the Galactic Compact noticed humanity, it was because of a mistake. A small human relief flotilla, barely a footnote in interstellar traffic, jumped into the Kepri expanse during a stellar collapse and began pulling escape pods from the gravity well of a dying star. The flotilla had no legal obligation to be there. The Kepri were not allies, not trade partners, not even friendly. Yet human ships burned their drives past safe tolerances, cracking hull plating and losing 3 vessels outright, to save lives that were not their own. When the last pod was recovered, the human commander transmitted a single line before jumping out. Debt acknowledged. Debt deferred. No one in the compact understood what that meant. Humanity joined the wider galaxy quietly after that. They did not conquer systems or demand tribute. They traded, observed, learned. Their technology was impressive but not dominant, their fleets respectable but not alarming. What unsettled the older species was not human strength, but human memory. They recorded everything, every kindness, every betrayal, every broken promise, archived in redundant systems scattered across their colonies. The humans called these records ledgers. To the rest of the galaxy, it seemed like sentimentality elevated to obsession. To humanity, it was survival. The debt came due 80 years later. The Iridani Combine, a vast empire of crystalline intelligences, launched a campaign of resource reclamation. Across the Perseus Arm, worlds were stripped, populations displaced or annihilated, all justified under ancient treaties written by extinct species. The Galactic Compact protested. The Iridani ignored them. Fleets that resisted were shattered by gravity lances that folded space-time like paper. Entire civilizations vanished in months. Among the first targets were the Kepri, those same insectoid beings once rescued by human hands. Their home system burned, orbital habitats crushed into glittering debris. A single Kepri courier ship escaped, engines failing, broadcasting a distress call no one answered. No one except humanity. The call was received on New Jakarta Station, where Admiral Lena Ortiz listened in silence as translators rendered the frantic clicks and tones into trembling words. "We remember," the Kepri envoy said. "We remember the fire you flew through for us. We ask for aid, though we know we have nothing to offer in return." Around the chamber, human officers exchanged glances. Ortiz did not hesitate. She simply nodded and issued 3 orders: mobilize the fleet, unlock the ledger, and notify the archives. The compact was informed afterward, as a courtesy. Human fleets did not move like others. There was no grand announcement, no ceremonial mustering. Ships departed civilian docks, research orbits, even deep space construction yards, converging along routes calculated decades in advance. Vessels older than some compact species came out of mothballs, refitted and crewed by volunteers. Civilians donated resources, shipyards worked without pause, and entire colonies accepted rationing without complaint. When asked why, humans gave the same answer: we owe them. The Iridani noticed the mobilization and dismissed it. Humanity had never fought a full-scale interstellar war. Their doctrine appeared scattered, their ships wildly varied in design. Against the elegant uniformity of the Combine's fleets, humans looked chaotic. When the first engagement occurred at the ruins of Kepri Prime, Iridani tacticians predicted a swift annihilation. They were wrong. Human ships did not engage in clean formations. They used asteroids as shields, debris as weapons, even their own destroyed vessels as kinetic traps. They exploited every variable: radiation, gravity eddies, sensor ghosts, turning the battlefield into a nightmare of uncertainty. When Iridani gravity lances fired, human ships cut engines and let physics do the work, drifting just far enough to survive. Then they counterattacked with weapons the Combine had classified as obsolete: mass drivers, nuclear pump lasers, relativistic kill vehicles.
Crude.
Effective. Still, the Combine adapted. They always did. For every human ship destroyed, 3 Iridani constructs advanced. The battle became a war of attrition humanity could not win until the second phase began. Across human space, the ledgers were opened fully. Every interaction humanity had ever had with another species was reviewed. Not treaties, favors. A mining guild once rescued from pirates. A medical world saved from plague by human doctors. A trade route defended without payment. Humanity called in no debts directly. Instead, they shared their story. They showed recordings, logs, names. They reminded the galaxy who had stood with them when it cost something to do so. And one by one, ships began to arrive. Not under human command, but alongside them. The compact fractured as former neutrals took sides. Even species long oppressed by the Iridani found courage in human defiance. The battlefield around Kepri Prime expanded into a coalition armada, messy and uncoordinated, but united by something older than law: gratitude. The Iridani escalated. They deployed a world shaper, a moon-sized construct capable of inducing stellar collapse. Its arrival silenced the battlefield. One activation would end the system, coalition fleet included. Iridani logic deemed this acceptable. Humanity disagreed. Admiral Ortiz ordered a retreat, except for one ship. The HFS Resolve, an ancient carrier held together by upgrades and stubbornness, accelerated directly toward the world shaper. Inside, engineers overrode every safety limit. The ship's core began to melt as it charged its experimental drive, a device never meant to be used this way. Ortiz transmitted on all frequencies, her voice calm. "Ledger entry complete," she said. "Debt repaid." The Resolve jumped. Not through space, but through probability itself. The drive tore open a localized cascade, collapsing the world shaper into its own gravity well and dragging the Resolve with it. The resulting implosion rippled across subspace, disabling Iridani command links for light years. Their fleets froze, suddenly blind and isolated. The coalition did not waste the moment. What followed was not a massacre, but a dismantling. Human commanders offered terms: withdraw, cease reclamation, recognize sentient sovereignty. The Iridani, incapable of emotional response yet able to calculate outcomes, complied. For the first time in recorded history, the Combine retreated. In the aftermath, the galaxy reeled. Analysts tried to quantify what had happened, to reduce it to tactics and technology. Humans corrected them gently. It was not about weapons or strategy. It was about memory. Humanity had survived its own brutal history by learning a simple truth: kindness is not free, but neither is cruelty. Both accrue interest. At a rebuilt Kepri Prime, a memorial was raised, not just to the fallen but to the idea that debts could be more than chains. The inscription was written in dozens of languages, but the human line remained untranslated. We remember. We repay. From that day forward, no species dismissed a human promise or threat, because the galaxy had learned, at tremendous cost, that humanity never ignores a debt, and when they repay it, the universe itself trembles.